Hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about how to heal autoimmune disease naturally. As a clinician, I've seen so many different cases of autoimmune diseases over the years. And you know what? When somebody gets diagnosed with autoimmunity, oftentimes their hope can be lost. But I am here to give you hope because you can definitely heal. You can get well naturally. And we're going to go through that today. I'm going to show you testimonials of people who have been healed naturally. I'm going to talk about the best things to do with your nutrition, as well as key strategies to heal autoimmune disease naturally. So let's jump into this. So if you don't know me, my name is Dr. David Jockers, and I am a doctor of natural medicine. I speak all around the country at churches and organizations and a lot of online summits. And I have a specialty in helping people heal leaky gut, digestive disorders, and autoimmunity. And you can see my beautiful family here, my wife, Angel, and my little boys, David and Joshua, twin boys. And so let's jump into the topic here with autoimmunity. And I want to show you real stories of people who have been able to heal autoimmune disease naturally. And whenever we look at a disease like autoimmunity, whether it's rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's, multiple sclerosis, lupus, all of these kinds of conditions, in the medical system, we're basically told, and I know I was trained, my classical medical education, I was trained that these diseases, that it was impossible to get well from, that the best thing you could do was manage them, keep the symptoms under control, but you could never actually get well. Well, I'm here to show you real stories. We're actually going to go through 6 different testimonials in this presentation of people who have gotten well naturally. This is Jill right here, and she says, my desperation began in July of 2013 after being told by my endocrinologist that he cannot help me anymore. I was treated with medication for 3 years for my overactive thyroid. I've been diagnosed with Graves' disease, autoimmune hyperthyroidism. So most people are familiar with Hashimoto's or a hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism actually is more dangerous because when somebody has too much thyroid hormone, it can cause tachycardia, cause the heart to race, and can cause arrhythmias, meaning that the heart just the actual beats, it can get really fast, really slow, and ultimately can cause cardiac death. So it's life and death with Graves' disease. And so she says the only option left was surgery. Later that day, I had a checkup with my OBGYN doctor, also recommended that I have an outpatient surgery as my medications that I was taking did not work to reduce the monthly heavy bleeding. Earlier that summer, my family doctor explained that my blood work has strong indications that I was on track to get rheumatoid arthritis and or lupus. And this is important to know because when people develop autoimmunity, oftentimes they develop autoimmunity to multiple tissues. So, for example, she had autoimmunity to her thyroid, which was causing too much thyroid hormone to be released, but she was also on track to get rheumatoid arthritis, which would be autoimmunity to her joints, or lupus, which is autoimmunity to her connective tissue. She goes, I was sick and tired of being tired, overweight, unfocused, stressed. Every time I ate, I would have stomach aches, gas, sinus headaches, food cravings, allergies, heavy cycles, and I had become anemic, and I could not keep enough vitamin D in my body. I was depressed, had low self-esteem, forgot a lot of things, had chronic brain fog, and was overwhelmed and could not complete a simple task. I mean, just imagine what it's like to be in that place. And some of you guys that may be listening, you may be in that place, and it's a tough place. And if that's the case, I really have compassion for you. And that's just so challenging to be in that place. But here's the good news. She said, Dr. Jockers evaluated me, gave me a plan. And that's the plan I'm going to go through today. It gave me hope for the first time in years. 3 months into the treatment plan, I began to feel so much better. Now I am healthier. My cycles are regulated and normal. The anemia went away. I don't have sinus headaches anymore, no matter the weather. My stomach aches and gas are gone now that I eat gluten-free and dairy-free and stick with clean foods. I have energy and I feel like I can give back to society. My doctors are wondering what I've been doing as my blood work is almost totally reversed. And I have almost perfect numbers. No need to see a rheumatoid doctor or have the procedure to reduce my cycles. My thyroid numbers have improved tremendously and I've not taken any medications in months. People have noticed my weight loss and my energy levels and that I smile like I used to. I have my life back. I read a testimonial like that, just touches my heart because here's somebody who is absolutely struggling and now has hope and has gotten well. Here is Elizabeth, And she says, I've been diagnosed 30 years ago with Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroid disease. So it's the opposite. It's just autoimmune disease that's causing too little thyroid hormone to be produced. So there's hyperthyroidism and there's hypothyroidism. And in her case, she had an autoimmune hypothyroidism, too low thyroid. And she had a thyroid goiter and was put on Synthroid. I was told that I would have this problem for the rest of my life and would need these medications and possibly more for the rest of my life. My hair was falling out. I had chronic anxiety and was in a lot of pain and was suffering every day. I had gained 26 pounds over the course of 4 years that my endocrinologist had no clue why. I had severe pain that was a 10 out of 10 in my back due to my scoliosis. I started following the autoimmune program, and within 2 weeks, I had lost 4 pounds and continued to lose more weight as the weeks passed. I have been faithful to not deviate from eating the right foods and found the diet easy to incorporate in my lifestyle. After 10 months, the extra 26 pounds I had been carrying for 4 years had disappeared and my pain was under control. And I was and am able to do many things I thought I would never be able to accomplish. June 2013, my prescription for Synthroid wasn't received before I went out of town, so I went without it for about 2 weeks. When I returned, so she asked me, she said, Dr. Jockers said to just see how my body would do without it because she was doing well, symptoms were under control. 3 months later, I had a blood test and the results showed my thyroid was right in the middle of the functional range. So no more Synthroid. So her thyroid levels, actually her free T3 was perfect and she wasn't taking the Synthroid. And so this is a case here where this is a lady who had been attacking her own thyroid inside of her body for years, yet was able to reestablish normal thyroid function and optimal health. This is Michelle, and she dealt with Crohn's disease. She goes, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease just after high school. Since then, I've had 3 surgeries to remove parts of my small intestine and now have very little left. Having very little small intestine causes me to have to use the restroom frequently. It's easy to need to go 12 to 20 times in a day. Can you imagine that? I have to be very selective with what and when I eat, and I would always need to be close to a bathroom. This has been a hardship at times because our family travels all over the world. In fact, her husband works for Delta, so they have free standby flights, yet she wasn't able to travel because she would just have to go to the bathroom all the time. I also suffered from chronic migraines and have found that certain foods trigger it. After I began following the program, I noticed I was no longer getting up in the morning feeling tired. I didn't have to eat something within an hour of starting the day or my blood sugar would drop. I didn't need the medications I used to take either. I've been able to reduce the number of medications I take for my Crohn's from 4 to only 1 in 6 months. Mostly, I've noticed I had to frequent the bathroom less and less each day. This has been huge in my life and in my family's. I know where every bathroom is everywhere I go. You see how our traveling all over the world can cause major anxiety. I've been on 3 different trips since starting this plan, and I cannot begin to express the change and how much less stressful it is now. So she had stopped traveling because of the frequent need to go to the bathroom, and now she was able to travel and live her life again. I've gone from the 12 to 20 times to twice a day. This has been amazing. I still make sure I know where the restroom is just out of habit. I was afraid that when we travel, I'd have a hard time with food. Dr. Jockers explained that when in another country or just on vacation, to find local markets with local fruits and vegetables, that eating as clean as possible was the key. He has taken such care with helping us meet our goals and educating us. My husband, Trey, because Trey started on the same program, he did not have an autoimmune disease, but he started on the autoimmune elimination program with her. She said, my husband, Trey, has also lost 35 pounds and I've lost 17. I'm so happy to say that we feel fantastic and have our lives back. And that's Michelle. And so you can see that people can get well. These are diseases: Crohn's disease, Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, Hashimoto's, autoimmunity, that we're told you can never get well. You have to live on medication. All 3 of those individuals were able to come off their medications naturally and get well. And so it is definitely possible. But right now we have an epidemic of autoimmunity. Over 250 million people around the world are being diagnosed with autoimmune disease. And this can look like a number of different forms. In your thyroid, like I was talking about, you can develop Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but you can also develop Graves' disease. In your bones, autoimmunity will damage your bones as well. It can cause things like rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, where there's these big calcifications in the discs and the ligaments around the discs, and something called polymyalgia rheumatica, which is where multiple different joints will start to hurt and spontaneously, and it will come and go for different joints. Muscles, rheumatoid arthritis not only affects the joints and the bones, but it also affects the muscles. Same thing with ankylosing spondylitis and polymyalgia rheumatica. The skin, things like psoriasis or eczema and scleroderma, as well as lupus, can also affect the skin. Lungs, you have things like fibromyalgia and a unique condition called Wegener's granulomatosis that affect and damage autoimmunity. It damages the lungs, affects breathing patterns. The nerves, we've got things like neuropathy that damage the nerves. Also multiple sclerosis, which affects the nerves and the brain. Autism is thought to be very much related to autoimmune reaction to parts of the brain. Blood, how about leukemia? We consider that a cancer, but actually it may be better to classify it as an autoimmune disorder. Hemolytic dysglycemia, so we're basically where the body's damaging its own blood cells, and lupus also affects the bloodstream. And then the digestive system, we have things like celiac disease, Crohn's disease that Michelle got well from, ulcerative colitis, which affects the colon region. Crohn's affects the small intestine, and then type 1 diabetes, where there is beta cell in the pancreas, beta cell antibodies. So how does this all happen? Well, basically, our body has this normal immune response where we have antigens, and those could be things like, for example, bacteria and viruses and things from the environment. They come into the body says, you know what, this is potentially dangerous, so it tags the antigen, and then it creates a certain immune cell called an antibody. And the antibody attacks and destroys the antigen. This is normal, natural, this happens all the time. The problem is when our immune system is malcoordinated. Okay, it's almost like police officers running around with poor vision, or let's say we sounded the alarm for the entire city that you live in, but all the police officers were blindfolded, and they heard the alarm, and there was people running around town and screaming going on, and sirens and all kinds of stuff, and they were blindfolded, but they had their guns. What are they going to do? They're going to start shooting, and they're going to kill a lot of innocent bystanders. And so it's the same thing here with autoimmune disease, where the immune system is malcoordinated. And so what happens is it starts to attack the antigens and destroy not only the antigens, but also really affect parts of our body. And there's something called molecular cross mimicry, where there's certain tissues of the body that have very much related to food particles, maybe certain bacteria and viruses. And so instead of attacking the particular bacteria or viruses or the food particle, like gluten, for example, the body will attack tissues like the thyroid. There's a huge connection between gluten intolerance or a sensitivity to gluten and leaky gut and autoimmunity to the thyroid, such as Graves' disease or Hashimoto's. This is kind of part of this sort of action that takes place where the body attacks itself. So the main cause, autoimmunity is really a three-legged stool. There's got to be a genetic component. There also has to be leaky gut syndrome, and then there has to be some sort of an environmental stimulus or some sort of a stressor on the body, some major stressor that throws us over the ledge, I guess you could say. So here is what leaky gut looks like. So we've got this one cell, and you can see that there, one cell that are held in by tight junctions. It almost looks like the knitting in a baseball glove, for example, that you can see there. And so normally that should be fully connected. But what happens is when we have something called leaky gut, and you can see all the different triggers that can cause that, like stress, food allergies, toxins, infections, antibiotics, low stomach acid and enzymes, all these different factors, blood sugar imbalances can cause loosening of those tight junctions. And now large undigested food particles can get into the bloodstream. And when they get into the bloodstream, the body thinks we're in danger because it knows that infections have killed more people in the history of mankind than anything else. And so large bacteria or large proteins, which basically is what a bacteria is, those large proteins, if they get into the bloodstream, the body thinks this could be an infection. I need to stop the infection. So it'll tag it and create an immune complex, a circulating immune complex that will start to try to tag and destroy that food particle, but again, can also lead to molecular cross mimicry and damage specific tissues of the body. And so this is really big, really key. There's also issues where we can get so much stress in our system where the entire intestinal cell, okay, what we call enterocyte, the intestinal cell will actually be destroyed, right? And so there's actually so much inflammation, it damages, it goes right through the actual cell. And you can see that on the right side there. So this can lead to a lot of different things. It's going to cause problems with the blood-brain barrier, causing more neuroimmunology or neuroautoimmunity, basically damage to the brain cells, autoimmune damage to the brain cells, chronic inflammation in the body, as well as malabsorption and nutrient deficiency. And so nutrient deficiencies and malabsorption is a telltale sign. That's always found with people with autoimmunity. If you're struggling with chronic inflammation, autoimmunity, you've got some level of malabsorption, leaky gut, and nutrient deficiencies. We've got to address this. And so ultimately, leaky gut affects the entire body. Again, we talked about all these different conditions, the thyroid, the skin, the brain. It can cause issues with the sinuses and mouth. So if you're somebody out there that gets frequent colds and sinus infections, it's related to leaky gut. So we've got to address these things. So another big thing, and this is key, is when we have this level of autoimmunity, we're going to have an imbalance in the way that our body processes stress. So we have two major systems for processing stress. We have what we call our fight or flight, which is our sympathetic nervous system, and that helps save our life. So for example, if we're in an emergency situation, we need our heart rate up, we need blood to flow out to our extremities, we need to move our body quickly. That's what the sympathetic nervous system does. Sympathetic nervous system is also elevated when we are exercising, or if we're giving a presentation like I am right now, I'm going to have more sympathetic dominance. I'm going to have a larger amount of my nervous system devoted to this fight or flight activity. That's key. We need that for performance, for exercise, things like that. Now, outside of that, we have our parasympathetic nervous system, which is critical for resting, healing, and digesting. This is critical. We need this balance. So if I'm going to go eat food, I need to have parasympathetic dominance, not sympathetic dominance, or I can't digest the food well. In fact, most of the day, I need to be in a state of parasympathetic dominance for a majority of the day, more hours than in sympathetic dominance. Like when I'm sleeping at night, when I'm relaxing, when I'm doing work that's not as strenuous, I need to be in parasympathetic mode. What happens though is when we have leaky gut syndrome, that creates a chronic stressor on the body. And that chronic stressor elevates the sympathetic nervous system and deflates the parasympathetic. So we get a condition called sympathetic dominance, where we are constantly in this fight or flight mode. And when we do that, we cannot heal. We cannot create the right types of molecules to help our body heal and repair. And we can't adapt well to stress. We end up with a condition called adrenal fatigue. And here are major symptoms that you may have adrenal fatigue. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, if you have autoimmune disease, if you're what we call wired and tired, where you're tired, you're fatigued, but you just can't fall asleep. A chronic sign of adrenal fatigue. It's classic. Chronic pain in the body, blood pressure issues, attention deficit disorder, trouble gaining or losing weight, sexual dysfunction, anxiety, or irritability. So if you or somebody you know is struggling with just irritability, they're constantly upset and angered, easily angered, it's a sign of adrenal fatigue. Feeling overwhelmed by life is a sign of adrenal fatigue. Constant cravings for sugar and salt, muscle tension throughout the body, blood sugar imbalances, bone loss. So if you're a woman out there and you're dealing with osteoporosis or osteomalacia, that's the case. And if you are constantly getting ill, it's a sign of adrenal fatigue. So we've got to address these things. And so going back to the gut, you can see here a normal, healthy microflora, balance of gut microbes is going to create the right type of immune cell called a regulatory T cell. It's also going to strengthen something called IgA, your secretory IgA, which helps to protect the gut lining. In fact, IgA is the critical immune component that helps kill off bacteria, yeast, all different types of microbes. So when you develop leaky gut is a sign of an IgA deficiency, this immunoglobulin that helps protect your gut lining. When you have that IgA deficiency, you're going to end up with an overgrowth of bacteria or yeast or parasites, which are only going to further trigger pathological states, causing more issues with allergies, food sensitivities, metabolic disorders, and autoimmunity. So we've got to keep this microflora in balance. And one of the best things that I have done, in fact, the 3 case studies that we already talked about and the ones I'm going to go over towards the end, the biggest thing with that we've done is an elimination diet. Elimination diet is so foundational to helping somebody get well. In fact, what do we know? We know when you're sensitive to certain foods, it's going to cause a decrease in your stomach acid. It's going to cause either a rapid movement of food, kind of like Michelle there with her Crohn's disease, or a delayed where you'll develop constipation, so delayed movement of food through the digestive tract. It's going to cause, if it's moving slowly in your system, it's going to end up leading to fermentation and overgrowth of microbes because the food particles are just sitting there. Microbes are fermenting, putrefying. The food particles creating a rampant amount of toxicity in your system and increasing inflammation. If the food's moving too quickly, like in Michelle's case, you're going to end up with significantly compromised nutrient absorption. And in both cases, you're going to end up with damaged gut cells, so damaged gut membrane, causing even more inflammation. It's this vicious cycle that takes place. The food elimination diet is very powerful because it helps to heal leaky gut syndrome and improves autoimmune conditions. In fact, a 1997 study looking at a food elimination diet, and this wasn't even eliminating all the things that I talk about. This is just eliminating gluten and dairy. So they took gluten and dairy out. They found that 30 to 40% of the people with rheumatoid arthritis showed improvement within 10 to 21 days. Imagine you take bread out of your diet, bread and dairy, bread and butter, I guess you could say, although we like butter, grass-fed butter, of course. Grass-fed ghee is what I use in my autoimmune program. But you take that out, and literally in as little as 10 days, you see significant improvement. It wasn't just improvement, it was significant improvement in chronic pain. Worth it, okay? In 2004, there was a study on lupus, individuals with lupus, and they found that lupus is a possible masquerade for what we call an extreme gluten sensitivity. So it's kind of like a pre-celiac disease condition where the person wasn't diagnosed with celiac yet. However, they had extreme autoimmunity to their connective tissue leading to lupus. And a 2006 study that was done at the University of Kansas Medical Center, they took 20 patients with IBS. So you see that number 3, Grudy's gastrointestinal symptoms. So they took 20 patients with irritable bowel syndrome. I know for myself, that's what I dealt with. Early in my life, I dealt with irritable bowel syndrome where I actually lost basically 30 pounds of muscle. I lost it and I had extreme adrenal fatigue. And I went on a food elimination diet and I was able to get significantly better. And in this study, it showed 20 patients with IBS all went on an elimination diet. And they had 100% of them, all 20 people improved significantly. And they tested them 6 months later. Not only had they improved with their symptoms, but they also showed that their gut flora, their microflora, had significant improvements as well. So as you can see, an elimination diet is extremely important for somebody who's trying to heal autoimmunity. It also improves skin irritations, reduces migraine headaches, and you just learn so much about yourself. In fact, if you want more about this, I have an article and a video where I go into the research on the benefits of a food elimination diet. But this is the foundation of what we do in our autoimmune elimination program. So what foods do we eliminate? Well, to begin with, we eliminate all gluten, as well as grains, dairy other than clarified butter, ghee. Now, the reason why we take butter out is because butter has trace amounts of casein, lactose, and whey. Casein and whey are the proteins that are in dairy. Lactose is the sugar. So butter is a lot better because it has trace amounts, but these proteins and the sugar, the lactose, are what people are sensitive to when they have problems with dairy. So we take the butter out because it has trace amounts. Although most people do well with it, with an autoimmune disease, I'm going to go with ghee, which has completely free of the casein, lactose, and whey. So that's what we're going to go with. Takes out refined sugar, takes out eggs. I know eggs are a great food, but a lot of people have sensitivities to eggs. Takes out corn, soy, vegetable oils, all these inflammatory vegetable oils, all grains, shellfish, tree nuts, legumes, and nightshade vegetables. And it seems like a lot, but believe me, there is tons of food to consume. In fact, we provide an incredible meal plan and a recipe guide in our autoimmune elimination program to help with this. So there are definitely a lot of things you can do and you can eat. So we take these things out for a period of time and then we slowly reintroduce them. So how do you follow this? Number one, you avoid the most common irritants, like we talked about. You read labels to make sure that you're not consuming these. You can't necessarily just, if it doesn't say it has gluten on the label, you can't necessarily trust that. You need to read the actual nutrition information to make sure. You need to read, it needs to say gluten-free. You need to make sure as you're reading the ingredients that there's nothing that may potentially have gluten in it. So you have to look out for that. You have to look out to see if there's things with eggs. You need to do your homework. You need a food journal. So we want to journal about how we're responding to the foods that we're consuming. A lot of people are eating things that they're sensitive to and they just have no idea. So we use a food journal and we provide that in our autoimmune elimination program. And then you begin adding foods back in a very slow and isolated and intentional manner. So you're using this food journal, you're charting your symptoms and how they're improving, and then you're adding things back like eggs, and then you're saying, okay, did I feel better? Did I feel worse? Did I feel the same? Did I notice any change? And we have a very specific protocol for how to go about doing that has gotten amazing results, as you've already seen. And of course, again, you want to observe for these changes in your symptoms. So one thing we use is a scoring sheet. And this is what I would highly recommend, is that basically you're going to score the foods that you consume. So as you start to improve, which you will on an elimination diet, then you say you add back eggs, for example. And you add them back, okay, and you can eat them for 2 meals in one day. And then what you do is you give yourself 2 days off from eating any other what we call fringe foods, which are foods that are healthy, but may potentially be a sensitivity for somebody with autoimmune disease. So you go back to the elimination diet and you see over the next basically 2 to 3 days, did you have a noticeable increase in inflammation, pain, low energy, digestive problems, eczema, trouble breathing, all these types of issues that could come up? If you had significantly noticeable increase, then you score that food a 1. If the symptoms are moderate, you score a 5. If they're very, very mild, almost unnoticeable, it's an 8. And if it digests nearly perfectly, just felt awesome when you ate it, then you scored a 10. And basically what we want to do is we want to stick with foods that we are digesting and processing between the 8 to 10. So you want to be in that 8 to 10 range where you're having mild, almost unnoticeable symptoms or digesting things perfectly. Or else we're going to keep that food out for a period of time because the body needs more time to heal and repair. So one key thing with this is also improving your stomach acid levels. You've got to improve your stomach acid levels if you're going to digest your food effectively. And this is really how food sensitivities begin, is we have low stomach acid. Why? Because when we're in a state of sympathetic dominance, remember that fight or flight, our body's not going to be able to produce digestive juices like stomach acid. And if we can't produce enough digestive juices like stomach acid, bile, pancreatic enzymes, there's no way we're going to digest our food well. And if we don't digest our food well, we're not going to get the nutrients we need. So we're not going to digest protein and minerals effectively. Also, on top of that, we're going to have more inflammation in our gut because we've got these larger food particles in there. That's going to lead to leaky gut, which is going to cause more acidity throughout the whole body and create this whole vicious cycle of poor digestion, leaky gut, and autoimmunity. So we've got to address stomach acid. So again, what does stomach acid do? It's so critical, and people with autoimmune disease are going to have low stomach acid and has to be addressed. Sterilizes food. So we talked about that. We got to make sure our microflora, our good gut bacteria, are in their proper ratio. And so if we don't have the right stomach acid, we're going to end up with an overgrowth, whether it's an overgrowth of parasites, bacteria, or yeast. We need stomach acid to help sterilize the gut, to reduce the microbial load. It's also key for protein digestion. If we don't digest and break down proteins well, we're going to have these large undigested proteins in our digestive tract. That's going to create leaky gut. It activates an enzyme called pepsin, which is critical for breaking down protein. It also activates intrinsic factor. We need intrinsic factor to absorb B12, vitamin B12. So I see often people with low stomach acid are also very low in vitamin B12. This is a very common deficiency in our society, especially people with autoimmune disease and adrenal fatigue. It also stimulates the delivery of bile and enzymes. So stomach acid really initiates that digestive process. So without adequate stomach acid, we're not going to be able to produce enough bile and enough pancreatic enzymes. So we are going to have very poor digestion. And again, that's going to lead up to that vicious cycle of autoimmunity and leaky gut. Closes the esophageal sphincter. This is extremely important, especially for people that have acid reflux. And so individuals with acid reflux are having problems with closing their esophageal sphincter. We need adequate stomach acid in order to do that. It also opens the pyloric sphincter, which is what separates the stomach from the small intestine. So without that, with low stomach acid, oftentimes food just doesn't move quickly. So we end up with constipation. We feel full pretty quickly, and we just don't feel well when we're eating. And that's why. And so we've got to address the stomach acid. So what are 10 ways to improve your stomach acid? And this is so critical for anybody with autoimmune disease. If you're out there and you're struggling, definitely start following these principles. Number one, liquid nutrition throughout the day. We want to stay super hydrated. Lots and lots of water. You can do green juices. You can do magnesium water, broth, herbal teas. These things are great. Use ginger. Ginger tea is great. You can also use dried ginger as well as the ginger root itself and grate it and put it in juices and things like that. We want to really hydrate our body well outside of mealtime. So we don't want to drink a lot with meals because that right there will dilute our stomach acid, but we do want to drink a lot outside of meals. So I always say if I'm going to have a shake, more of a liquid nutrition meal, then I want to stop drinking about 15 minutes or so before, maybe 30 minutes before, and then start drinking about 30 minutes after. So give it some time to kind of process and get through my stomach and use the benefit of the stomach acid. If I'm eating a solid food meal, then I'll really want to stop drinking water probably about 30 minutes, maybe 15 to 30 minutes before the meal, other than maybe taking supplements, small amount of water for supplements, and then start drinking about an hour afterwards. So I want to give myself about an hour to really process with the stomach acid and get that going. We want to use lemon and apple cider vinegar. So lemon, lime, apple cider vinegar, these things are awesome for helping to stimulate digestive juice production. They also, if you think about it, if you put that on meat, like on chicken, lemon pepper chicken, not only does it taste good, but also the lemon will actually help pre-digest the meat because it's got acids in it, citric acid. It also has enzymes, and it also has antioxidants. So it starts the digestive process. Same thing with apple cider vinegar, which will really help with our overall digestive energy. We want to eat protein foods at the beginning of the meal. So believe it or not, eating protein rather than eating your salad first is more beneficial for your stomach acid, because the moment protein hits in the stomach, we're going to start secreting stomach acid. Now, some people are going to secrete a lot more than others. And the people that do secrete a lot typically are going to have better digestion. However, if we eat the salad first and we already have low stomach acid, the acid's going to really start hitting the vegetables, which don't need acid to metabolize and to break down. And we're going to have less left for the meat. So it's actually better to eat the protein foods at the beginning of the meal. Use fermented vegetables. So sauerkraut, kimchi, pickles, these things are great for helping stimulate digestive juice production. In fact, sour foods like fermented vegetables, lemon, lime, apple cider vinegar, these types of things are great for stimulating digestive juice production. This is what we want in our diet, utilizing these kinds of things. Same thing with fermented drinks. So that's going to be things like coconut water keeper, for example, is one of my favorites. Kavita coconut water keeper, awesome stuff. There's a lime mint Kavita that I really like. And you can get coconut water keepers, fermented coconut water, and they put different herbs in it. That's a great fermented drink. Kombucha can be good, although a lot of people with yeast overgrowth do not do well with kombucha. So you got to be careful with that one. Other ones would be beet kvass is another fermented drink. Miso soup can be okay. So those are all fermented drinks. And apple cider vinegar, of course, is a fermented drink. And there's different types of apple cider vinegar drinks. In fact, Bragg's has an apple cider vinegar with ginger drink that tastes great, flavored with stevia. And last but not least here is eat your largest meal when you're most relaxed. Why is that important? Because it's so critical to get into more of a parasympathetic mode before we eat a large meal. So we talked about that. If we're in fight or flight, sympathetic mode, we're not going to be able to produce the digestive juices. We're going to create a lot of stress in our digestive tract, leading to leaky gut and autoimmunity. We want to be relaxed before we consume our meal. We want to relax. We want to take time to breathe deep. I always like saying a prayer before I eat food. Why? Because it helps. Not only is it an amazing spiritual act, but it also helps put you in a state of gratitude, which will naturally stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, and you'll get better digestive juice production, therefore better digestion. So definitely want to do that. And ultimately, if you want help with all of these strategies, this is why I created my autoimmune elimination program. I've been working with thousands of clients over the years and getting amazing results. But you know what? It took a lot of hand-holding in order to do that. And so I wanted to create a program that would be a lot more affordable than working with me. And you basically get all the benefits of working with me: video instruction, e-guides, everything you need to get well for a small fraction of the cost of what it would take to go through my program in my clinic. And so in this program, we've got a full manual called the Autoimmune Elimination Program, which walks you through exactly how to do an elimination diet and all the different strategies that we talk about, step-by-step guide. We also have an adrenal health guide, which walks you through exactly how to heal adrenal fatigue, all the best foods, supplements, and strategies in order to do that. We also have a full recipe guide, over 50 recipes in this that are all found, that all taste amazing, that people love, and are all part of this elimination diet. So amazing recipes like the Thai coconut turkey, the turmeric coconut cups, the all different types of stuff that we have in there that is going to help your body heal naturally, helps heal and seal leaky gut and help you get well. We've written out a full meal plan that shows you exactly how to do the elimination diet, how to add foods back in, what to look for, what to look out for. It walks you through all of it. We also have a 20 advanced healing and cleansing strategies guide. So you can also start to apply things like Epsom salt baths. And we talk about sunbathing. We talk about grounding your body. And so all these different strategies you can be doing at home to improve your body's ability to cleanse itself, detoxify, and to improve the overall tissue regenerative properties that are in your body right now. If you have autoimmune disease and you've been struggling, you're not healing well. That's why these advanced strategies can be so helpful. We also have a quick start guide that really goes through exactly the foods to get, the foods that are approved, and goes over the foods that we want to avoid as we go through this program. And we also have a quick snack list. This is people love this. And you can see a couple of the snacks on there. We use a lot of different herbal teas in this program. Coconut flour wraps. There's my favorite. Kavita. Lime mint is my favorite. Lime and mint are both carminative herbs that help with the tone of your digestive tract. They also provide a lot of antioxidants for the body. The breakdown of the fermentation of the coconut water, not only is that increase the amount of potassium and B vitamins in there, it lowers the sugar content. Very good stuff. This tiger nut raw snack is great. So we've got just a lot of really good snack foods and ideas for you on things that you can be consuming that will taste good quickly and provide, whether it's calories or hydration, or herbal nutrients to help support your body right into our quick snack list that comes with the program. We also have the Pulse Biofeedback food sensitivity test. This really shows you exactly how to see how your body's responding to foods. You know, if you're having a stress response, it's going to cause an alteration in your pulse. And so we teach you exactly how to monitor your pulse to see how your body's responding to the various foods you're consuming. We also have a 6-week autoimmune elimination diet journal where you do a short journal entry every day to see how your body is responding, all the major regions of your body, how your brain is feeling, how your skin is doing, how your energy was that day. And so you're filling this out on a daily basis to see and to look for patterns. So ultimately you can master your health. And ultimately, this is what I teach my clients, is that the process of getting well, when you've been diagnosed with a chronic disease like autoimmune disease, the process of getting well is basically like getting a master's degree in your own health. That you've got to take time to really master it. And it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of study and effort, energy, and it's going to cost. There's going to be a cost to it. financially in order to get the education information that you need, possibly supplements that you'll need in order to heal. So you got to look out for that. The food journal, the journal is a huge part of that, because the journaling is really where you're learning through self-experimentation. You think about that like your project when you're in school. That is your main project, is working on that journal. We also have a guide to heal your gallbladder. So there's a lot of people that I'm working with that either don't have a gallbladder, or they have had bile stones, gallbladder stones before, or they have a sluggish gallbladder. And so we go through all the strategies, and this is really important. If you don't have a gallbladder, you need this whole program just for this guide right here. But we go through everything on how to heal the gallbladder, nutrition steps to take, everything you need to know about healthy gallbladder. We also go through the full stomach acid guide in this program and really teach you how to have proper stomach acid release and to really digest your foods perfectly. The better you digest your foods, the faster your body's going to heal. And that's so critical. We also have a full video library. These are video recipes as well as trainings where I'm actually taking you through a grocery store, showing you the best foods to consume. I take you through my house, and I actually give you a tour of the foods I have in my house. And we go through a ton of different things, recipes, trainings, and a number of different topics related to the food elimination diet and healing adrenal fatigue. So all of that comes with this program. We also have a daily inspirational email that helps support you, helps guide you in the right direction as you're going through this program. And so you get 42 days worth of inspirational emails. There's always an inspirational message as well as a training each day for the 6-week program. And so all of this comes right with the program. And normally for my time, and this is roughly 20 to 30 hours of my time. If you were to hire me for that, I charge $300 an hour. So it's going to be somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000 in order to hire me to teach you all of this information. Well, that's why I've bundled it into this whole program. And because of this sort of a format, this online format here, I'm able to significantly cut down the cost. Now, this program did cost me, personally, it cost me about $5,000 to put together, with the video costs, with my team and my staff for creating all these different ebooks, and just the overall amount of time I put into it. However, for you, it would just cost $97 is our total program cost. And for a limited time, you can use this coupon code AI30, okay? And you can get $30 off and get the entire program, roughly $6,000 to $10,000 worth of value here for just $67. So it's really a no-brainer. And if you're out there and you're dealing with autoimmunity, then you definitely want to take me up on this offer. You got to do it, because I mean, if every single day with autoimmune disease that you are doing nothing, or you just don't have a plan of action every single day, that those antibodies are destroying your body, causing worsening and worsening symptoms, and making it harder and harder to heal and repair. So the best thing you can do is take action now. You know, this is really what Bethany did. And so Bethany is a young woman. She was in her late 20s when she first came to see me. She says, in April of 2013, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, an autoimmune hyperthyroid condition. My symptoms included rapid weight loss, high blood pressure, anxiety, fast heart rate, and extreme fatigue. My endocrinologist told me that my only options were to remove my thyroid or to undergo thyroid radiation, which would permanently destroy it. I felt extremely discouraged and overwhelmed at the thought of losing my thyroid and having to take Synthroid for the rest of my life. My doctor told me that there was nothing that I could do naturally and that this disease was irreversible. That is so unfortunate she was told that. She goes, I agreed to take a thyroid suppressing medication to alleviate my symptoms, but I began to seek help elsewhere for alternative treatment. I received help from a naturopathic doctor who started me on the path to a gluten-free diet. But this was only one piece to the puzzle. I was not seeing enough results, and I began to get skeptical that any natural remedy would work. Maybe you're out there, maybe you've tried natural things and they haven't worked like Bethany did. She said, after several months of no positive outcome, I met a friend at church who recommended I see Dr. Jockers. So she went on my autoimmune elimination program here. So after being on the health plan for 6 months, I was able to completely come off my medication. My weight, blood pressure, and heart rate have normalized, and I have no more fatigue. My endocrinologist continues to seem surprised that my condition is reversing. So she was told she couldn't get well, but she did. And why? Because she took action. She took responsibility for her health and did what it took. This is Lucinda. Lucinda says, when I started, I was on an unending cycle of medications and testing. Medication to control my thyroid and testing to make sure the meds were not destroying my liver function. Every 6 to 8 weeks, I visited my endocrinologist for blood work. I was told that there were only 2 options for hyperthyroidism or Graves' disease, medication or radiation. For 7 years, he pushed me to have radiation treatment, which would destroy my thyroid and take a synthetic drug to replace its function. With each push, I stood my ground and objected because I knew God made my body with a thyroid gland and it serves a purpose. In addition to Graves' disease, I suffered without answers as to why my body was depleted of essential vitamins like B12, vitamin D, and calcium. After going to multiple doctors, the only answers I received were medications. My quality of life was diminished without a properly functioning thyroid, as its effects on my body resulted in this atrial fibrillation and extreme muscle fatigue. That's what I was talking about, where your heart starts racing. This is life and death type situation. She goes, it was a sacrifice for my family to afford the cost of the care. So she spent thousands, literally over $5,000 in my clinic in about a 3 to 6 month period of time. She said to use the supplements, the healthy foods that I needed. However, we made a decision that my health and quality of life was more important. I began care in March 2012 and my blood work improved. My energy levels increased and I slept much better. I also lost 15 pounds. My MD began reducing my thyroid medication. It was such a low dose that I decided to stop the medication altogether. Dr. Jocker says, God who created the body is able to heal the body. And that's right. God knows how to heal your body. He doesn't need any help, just no interference. We had to remove the interference from Lucinda's body and she was able to get well. She says, I had to soul search and ask myself if I really believe God and the journey he had me on. After 3 months off of the medication, I had blood work done. My thyroid function is now within a perfect range. My body was finally on a cycle of healing itself, just as God created it. I have a role to play and I am staying on this road and pushing through whatever obstacle comes my way. Lucinda got well. She took action. Finally, last testimonial is Joyce. And Joyce says, as I started getting older, I knew that I did not want to medicate to death with all sorts of pills. By the time I turned 60, I was taking several medications, felt terrible, and did not know any other options to improve my life. I was on acid reflux, high blood pressure, cholesterol, thyroid, and sleeping medication. That was more than enough for me. I had hypothyroidism. So when the thyroid is too low, she had Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune disease to her thyroid, that was causing me to have low energy, depression, constant heartburn, and insomnia. I started following Dr. Jocker's program, and 3 months later, I am an entirely new woman. Now my energy levels are up. I am sleeping much better, and I am no longer depressed. I have lost 33 pounds in the last 3 months since I began here, and I've healed my blood pressure problems, thyroid problems, acid reflux, and cholesterol problems. I have reversed hypothyroidism that I was diagnosed with. Now all those medications are a thing of the past. I'm going on 61 and I am now completely medication free. Amazing. And so here she was. She had no idea how to get well. She just knew she needed to do something. She followed the program and she got well. And so Joyce would be the first to tell you, if she can do it, you can absolutely do it. You know, you have got to believe in yourself. If you're out there and you're struggling with your health, the number one thing I would tell you is that there is hope. You can do it, but you've got to start by believing in yourself and stepping out and doing something that may even seem risky or scary. When you do that, amazing things happen in your life. And so good fortune comes to those who are willing to step out and take the risk and go for what they want in life. And so I've tried to make it as easy as possible. You know, people ask me, why this program is so amazing. Why are you only selling it for $97? And obviously for now, you can get it for $67. Just go to drjockers.com or hit the link right under this video here. But drjockers.com, under our programs tab, you'll see it, the Autoimmune Elimination Program. And people will ask me why I'm selling this so cheap. You know, most people have programs like this. A lot of my friends that are in the industry, they're selling it anywhere from $197 to up to $497, and some people over $1,000 for this sort of a program. I had this desire to really make a program under $100. And the reason why is that there's just so many people struggling with autoimmune disease. And they email me every day. Some of you guys who are listening have probably emailed me and you're saying, you know what? I've spent so much money on medications, on the medical system. I have nothing left. And this is what people are telling me left and right, that they have nothing left, that they're in debt, financial debt, due to medical bills. And so my mission was to create something that was as affordable as possible, to create value so that there's some level of buy-in, but at the same time, something that's going to get results and you're not going to have to break the bank. And so that's why we created this program. And I put everything in there. I mean, again, this is literally over $5,000 worth of work and effort right into this program that you're going to get for just $67 if you use the code AI30 at checkout. We also have a 30-day, no risk, money back guarantee. So if you're concerned that the programs, you want to see the programs for you or not, rest assured there's 30 days. You have to decide. So 30-day money back guarantee. So go ahead, take advantage of that. And, I want to hear your testimonials. So as you start this program, I want to hear from you on your testimonial. And also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, go ahead and write in the comment section below what you may be struggling with, what you have learned in this presentation, and what you've learned about your health in general. Because ultimately, God created our body to heal itself. And if we remove the interferences, like foods that are causing problems, and if we help to realign our system with its natural healing capability, we can get well and stay well, just like all the testimonials you saw in this presentation. So with that being said, I want to leave you guys with hope and with inspiration. I know you can heal and you can get well, but I will tell you, you've got to take action in order to do it. So with that being said, guys, God bless you, and we will see you on a future upcoming training.